Tonight on Y News, the Sanchez family admits they have sought the help of former Ilocos Norte Representative Imelda Marcos and presidential spokesperson Secretary Salvador Panelo for the early release of rape-slay convict Antonio Sanchez. Presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelo says he will file libel charges against 2 online news publications over stories about his referral of the request of former Clauan Mayor Antonio Sanchez for executive clemency. President Rodrigo Duterte to decide on the fate of Bureau of Corrections Chief Nicanor Faildon and other officials once congressional hearings on the Good Conduct Time Allowance or GCTA law are over. Senators push to exempt heinous crimes in the amended GCTA law. Good evening. The family of Antonio Sanchez admit they have sought the help of known personalities for the early release of the former Caloocan, Laguna mayor. Grace Casin details why.
The Sanchez family confirmed at the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee hearing today on the controversial Good Conduct Time Allowance they wanted help from former Associate Justice Arturo Brion, former Ilocos Norte Representative Imelda Marcos, and presidential spokesperson Secretary Salvador Panelo. During the hearing, the Board of Pardons and Parole said Panelo has sent them a referral letter on the Sanchez family's request for executive clemency.
Office of the Presidential Legal Counsel, we write in reference to the letter of Mrs. Marie of Antoinette Sanchez signed by Chief Presidential Legal Counsel Salvador Panelo.
Sino?
Salvador Panelo po.
The Office of the Presidential Legal Counsel.
Yes, sir. Apo.
Sumunod saan, kung pwede, ano?
With reference lang, sir. With reference to the letter of Miss Marie Anthony Sanchez regarding the application of Mr. Antonio Sanchez for executive clemency.
Mrs. Sanchez said they also met with Bureau of Corrections Chief Director General Nicanor Faildon after hearing of his husband's possible release.
I told him, Director, andito po kaming pamilya ni Mayor Sanchez to clarify things. Kasi kahapon narinig namin na lalaya ng asawa namin. Because somebody texted me na he is about to release. And then, ang sagot pa ho niya sa amin, Mrs. Sanchez, hindi ko alam yan, pero hinold ko yung proseso ng pagpapalabas. Kasi, may bago akong direktiba sa baba na first in, first out. Ang sabi ko sa kanya, Director, ano yung first in, first out? Sabi niya, kung sino yung mauna na pumasok, siyang maunang lalabas.
But the senators are curious who texted Mrs. Sanchez and informed her about the ex-mayor's possible early release.
Hindi po talaga kilala.
Numero lang ang lumabas sa telephone, sa cellphone mo.
Opo.
Numero lang?
Opo.
Dala mo ba yung cellphone mo?
Actually nga po, kanina lang wala na po akong cellphone.
Ano?
Kasi kanina lang po, kasi nung
kanina lang na nawala ang cellphone mo.
Hindi po nawala. Binasa ko po, tinanggal ko po ang SIM card. Kasi pag-gising ko kanina, after nung hearing na to, ang dami ho nag-text na sa akin. May mga death threat na ho kami. Kaya ang ginawa ko, siyempre at burst of my emotion, tanggalin ko na lang tong SIM card ko. Magtanggal na lang ako ng cellphone.
So, tinanggal mo ang text message sa telepono mo.
Hindi ko po tinanggal.
Ha?
Your Honor, hindi ko po tinanggal ang message. Ang tinanggal ko po, ang SIM card ko at binato ko na po yung cellphone ko.
The senators wants all text messages of Mrs. Sanchez be retrieved to find out who texted to inform her about his husband's release. The Sanchez family have no plans to pay for damages brought on the Sarmientas. For them, ex-Mayor Sanchez is innocent. But the senators encourage the Department of Justice to urge the accused to pay for damages. Grace Casin, UNTV News and Rescue, Senate of the Philippines.
Presidential spokesperson and Chief Presidential Legal Counsel Salvador Panelo insists he has not intervened when he referred the Sanchez family's request for executive clemency on Antonio Sanchez to the Board of Pardons and Parole, or BPP. Rosalie Cost reports why.
Based on an email sent by Marie Antonel V. Maymay Sanchez on February 8, 2019 to the Office of Presidential Spokesperson and Chief Presidential Legal Counsel Salvador Panelo, they were requesting for the recommendations of Panelo, Senator and former Special Aide to the President Bongo, and President Rodrigo Duterte to grant pardon for her father. Panelo met the Sanchez family in Malacanang regarding the said request. But according to the official, he did not recommend but instead just referred the family's request to the Board of Pardons and Parole on February 26, 2019.
I stand by my statement that I have nothing to do, no intervention, nothing whatsoever. It was a referral letter which is consistent with our duty in the office to refer all letters to the appropriate agencies that should require their evaluation or action.
Based on the BPP's response letter, they denied the Sanchez's request because of the gravity of the former mayor's offenses. Panelo was also questioned why he did not reveal the request letter when he had been asked if he has communicated with his former client Sanchez and his family. This was revealed only during the Senate hearing on good conduct time allowance today. Panelo reasoned out the communication is transparent and recorded.
I felt na since the question was in reference to Sanchez himself and the letter was not written by him, kami mga abogado kasi ganyan eh. Yung tanong mo lang, yun ang sasagutin ko.
Okay.
Yung tanong mo sa akin, si Mayor Sanchez, talaga naman din kami nagkakausap.
The official also said he last communicated with the convicted Sanchez in 1995. He added President Duterte is aware of his meeting with the Sanchez family at the palace. Harriet Demetriou, the retired judge who sentenced Sanchez, does not believe that Panelo has no prior information on the possible of early release of Sanchez. She has been also asking for Panelo's resignation. As for Undersecretary Nicanor Faeldon, who has also been hounded with a lot of questions on the GCTA, it is up to President Duterte if he will let the Bucor chief stay in his position.
That's for the President to decide. I talked with him yesterday and that was he told me. There is an ongoing investigation and I'll wait for the investigation.
Rosalie Coz, UNTV News and Rescue, Malacanang.
Former Clauan Mayor Antonio Sanchez's bid for clemency made noise everywhere. Now the public is confused between the facts and speculations on his case. Find out the facts and the fake as Monocson reports.
Former Caloocan, Laguna Mayor Antonio Sanchez was convicted with the rape slay of UP students Aileen Sarmenta and Alan Gomez. According to court records, the crime Sanchez carried out was premeditated. The court also said that Aileen was not alone when abducted. She was with her boyfriend Alan Gomez. The court says the crime happened in Mayor Sanchez's house. The medical legal showed proof of the gang rape. Reports show semen collected from Aileen could fill a can of sardines. Images of Sanchez together with presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelo circulating on the internet are legit. It is true that Panelo is one of the lawyers of Sanchez from the beginning of the case until when the former mayor was convicted. Earlier, presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelo has called for an emergency press con to announce his plan to file a case against Inquirer.net regarding an article that Panelo has sought for Mayor Sanchez's clemency. Panelo said that the Sanchez family wrote to him and it is only normal to forward the request as they are his former client and it was submitted to his office. Inquirer.net has not responded to Panelo's statement. A column was published by Ramon Tulfo saying that Sanchez admitted to a prison guard that he is not guilty and Aileen was offered as a gift to his son, Alan June Sanchez. Former Senator Rene Sagisag is also doubtful that Sanchez committed the crime. Sagisag said that DNA testing should have been done to prove if Sanchez is indeed guilty. All these stories are not yet proven in court and thus are still speculations. There is also a speculation that Executive Secretary Salvador Medialdea is a close relative of George Medialdea, the former Deputy Chief of Police of Caloocan, Laguna. George led the abduction of Sarmenta and Gomez. In a text message, ES Medialdea insisted that he is not a relative of George Medialdea. This crime is considered as a heinous crime in the 90s and will be forever engraved in the history of the Philippine justice system. This has also led to a Senate inquiry. We as the public must be well informed of any news and issues that arise here and there to know what are the facts and speculations. Monhokson, UNTV News and Rescue.
The Presidential Anti-Corruption Commission or PACC will investigate Bureau of Corrections Chief Nicanor Faildon and other Bucor officials. The PACC wants to identify if there are anomalies in implementing the Good Conduct Time Allowance or GCTA. Arlene Delgado will tell us why.
Yun po, we will conduct an investigation based on that. Was the law violated? Were there corruption involved? Yung mga allegations ng pagbibenta ng kalayaan.
PACC Commissioner Greco Belhica maintains they will look into the list of convicts granted release to know if they were indeed qualified to avail of GCTA credit. Bucor data show that almost 2,000 heinous crime convicts have been released by the virtue of the law since 2014. But Belhica argues,
Ang heinous crimes, penalized by death yan eh. Kaso lang, lifted ang death penalty ngayon. So meaning, if hindi lifted ang death penalty, then patay na dapat yung convicted for heinous crime. So hindi na siya magka-qualify sa GCTA.
The commissioner assures there will be no sacred cows in the investigation. He adds the president will also conduct his own probe. If the officials will be found guilty, they may face administrative cases or removal from office if the president would say so. They may also face criminal charges at the Office of the Ombudsman. Arlene Delgado, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
The Bureau of Immigration or BI maintains they have no access nor information on whether a released convict of foreign origin has been granted good conduct time allowance. Aiko Miguel explains why.
The BI is usually unaware when a foreigner who has been convicted in the Philippines is granted GCTA after Bucor released them. The BI still has to scrutinize each of their records to check if they had benefited from the GCTA, especially when a foreign convict committed a grave crime like the released 4 Chinese drug lords.
Pagdating po sa endorsement ng Bureau of Correction, ang nakalagay po doon, nag-serve ng sentence. Hindi specified kung anuman, kung nakapag-avail man ito hindi. That's why we need to check, iisa-isahin talaga yan.
According to Deputy Spokesman Melvin Mabulak, they are awaiting the Justice Department's order after the deportation of the foreign ex-cons has been suspended. For now, the 4 Chinese are in the BI's detention facility in Taguig City, while the GCTA guidelines are being reviewed.
Considering now, it is under review, meaning we have to wait sa clearance and we have to comply with the directive of the Secretary of Justice.
The BI also checks on illegal aliens or foreigners who have presented fake or expired documents to Philippine authorities.
Nagkakaroon naman talaga yan ng deportation hearing with our legal division. Kaya marami sila, may mga Koreans, may mga Americans, Australians, Chinese. Yun po ang nandoon sa ating sa ating detention center. They are awaiting sa result ng kanilang deportation.
The BI assured they cannot deport a released foreign national right away without clearance from the DOJ. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
A legal expert explains who can avail of Good Conduct Time Allowance or GCTA based on Republic Act 10592. Attorney George Erwin Garcia, the Dean of the Pamantasan ng Lungsod ng Maynila College of Law, says 11,000 prisoners who are supposed to benefit from the law might be affected once the Justice Department finalizes its review of the provisions of the law. May Bermudez explains why.
Republic Act 10592, which amends several revised penal code revisions in relation to setting a prisoner free, is now faced with questions by the public due to several controversies. In particular, when news on the possible release of convicted murderer rapist former Clauan Mayor Antonio Sanchez broke out due to GCTA. Attorney Garcia says the law is divided into two parts, giving an individual a chance to get out of prison bars. Under preventive imprisonment, a case is still undergoing trial and no final appeal has been decided on by the Supreme Court. If the convicted criminal is sentenced to 20 years in prison and he has been in jail for 5 years for trial, the period may be deducted from the total number of years he must serve inside prison.
Subalit, yung preventive imprisonment deduction ay hindi applicable sa mga taong ang tawag recidivist, habitual delinquent. Yung lagi na lang yung nagkukumit ng krimen. Yung isa naman, yung escapee, tumakas eh. At pang-apat, yung nakasuhan ng tinatawag na heinous crime. Kapag nakasuhan siya ng heinous crime, automatically, hindi siya makakapagpabawas ng taon.
The second part of the amended law is the GCTA, under which anyone with any case who were convicted may be granted GCTA credit depending on his behavior while serving his sentence.
Halimbawa, sa 30 araw sa isang buwan, kapag dumating ka sa certain period ng pagkakakulong mo, alam mo bang maaaring maisilbi mo na lang sa 30 araw ay 10 araw? Yung 20 araw, minus na kaagad ng minus yun. Paano ngayon kung si Mayor Sanchez, o wag na si Mayor Sanchez lang, yung mga ibang akusado, habang nagsisilbi, sa buwan na ito, ang bait-bait. Ba isang buwan na ito, bigla namang nanuntok na lang ng isang kasamahan, nanuntok. Tapos sumunod na buwan na naman ay mabait na naman. Paano yung panununtok niya yun? Hindi na ba siya entitled sa good moral? Hindi. Entitled pa rin siya. Base sa batas, mababawasan lang yung kanyang good moral, good conduct time allowance sa buwan na yun. Kung saan siya nakakumit ng kasamaan, ng masamang yun. Hindi mo siya pwedeng i-deprive ng kabuuan per month.
Attorney Garcia adds, it won't be fair for those who have been released due to good moral to be put back to the maximum security compound.
Pwede mo ba silang hulihin o hindi? Kasi whatever is unfavorable to the accused cannot be applied to the accused.
It was on May 29, 2013, or during the term of former President Benigno Aquino III, when the amendment of the law was approved. May Bermudez, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
Senate Majority Leader Juan Miguel Zubiri files proposed amendments to the Good Conduct Time Allowance Law. Nel Maribuhok explains why.
Senator Juan Miguel Zubiri proposes a clear provision on the exemptions of heinous crimes convicts in the recalculations of sentence under the GCTA.
Shall not be applicable to those convicted of heinous crimes. And we spelled it out, Secretary, as you mentioned, such as murder, rape, robbery with violence or intimidation, kidnapping with serious illegal detention, parricide, destructive arson, and other heinous crimes as defined under Republic Act 7659.
The lawmaker also indicated in his proposal that giving time allowances to inmates should be approved by the Secretaries of the Justice Department and the Department of the Interior and Local Government. Justice Secretary Menardo Guevara meanwhile proposes to lawmakers that transparency on the side of victims' families should also be considered.
That a provision on transparency be included in the bill so that people who might be affected by the release of persons whose sentence has already expired by virtue of good conduct may also be properly notified.
Secretary Guevara also expressed support to the senators' proposed amendments to the GCTA law. For Senate Blue Ribbon Committee Chairman Senator Richard Gordon, the DOJ or Bucor should weigh in their calculations of GCTA the remorse or the acceptance of criminal in their acts and the payment for civil damage. In the case of former Mayor Antonio Sanchez, the family should pay the amount of more than 12 million pesos as civil liability, but the family refuses to pay.
May intention ba kayong bayaran ito?
Lagi po namin sinasabi.
Sorry?
Your Honor, lagi po namin sinasabi, laging paulit-ulit po namin sinasabi, bakit po kami magbabayad? Wala naman pong kasalanan ng aking asawa.
Nel Maribuhok, UNTV News and Rescue, Senate of the Philippines.
Welcome back to Y News. We pick up to where Angelo Castro III left off. I'm Alex Baltazar, and here are the headlines. The Department of Health Davao confirms that a 4-year-old boy who died in a hospital last Friday was tested positive for meningococcal bacteria. The Department of Education plans to hire new teachers and non-teaching staff under the proposed 2020 national budget. Senator calls on probe into rice importers who take advantage of rice liberalization. A portion of the Cavite Laguna Expressway to open next month. And national athletes get to try the new Clark City sports facilities as preparation for the 2019 SEA Games. Good evening. The Department of Health, or DOH Region 11, confirms that the 4-year-old boy who died last Friday in Berkshire Hospital in Davao City was positive for Meningococcemia. Janice Inyente tells us why.
Davao City records its first confirmed Meningococcemia case. The result of the confirmatory test on the patient's blood sample revealed he tested positive for meningococcal bacteria. According to Dr. Jack Estuart, the boy's attending physician, the patient was brought by his parents to the hospital at 9:30 Friday morning.
9 hours just prior to the admission at the ER, first manifest yung fever and vomiting and chills. But then a week before, meron siyang ubo-ubo. But then the fever was really just that day, just after midnight.
Because ang meningobacteria, the natural reservoir of the bacteria is our human nasopharynx sa ilong. Dito siya nag-reside. So it's either nandun lang siya, kumensa lang siya, or it can cause a disease. So merong mga risk factors triggering the bacteria to cause an invasive disease.
The DOH say they are closely monitoring the people who have made contact with the patient. This includes the boy's family, preschool pupils where the boy attended school, and emergency room staff who attended to the patient.
All children are being given the prophylaxis na. So, yun na. And then after that, ang gagawin namin is we will continue the surveillance. We will continue the monitoring of these contacts, no, the immediate contacts, the classmates na nandoon sa kanya, no. So, and also advise them that if they have symptoms like nag-fever sila, then they have to consult also.
The DOH clarified the public need not be alarmed as the disease is transmitted when meningococcal bacteria spread to other people through respiratory and throat secretions. Janice Enhente, UNTV, News and Rescue, Davao City.
The Department of Education, or DepEd, plans to hire 10,000 more teachers next year. And DepEd Secretary Leonor Briones explains the need for more of them. Joan Nano tells us why.
Based on DepEd regulation in 2016, the ratio of teachers to students is 1:35 for elementary level and 1:45 for secondary level.
We are reducing the class sizes because we have always been disturbed by the fact that we have large classes. So, pag re-reduce mo yan, then you need more teachers.
The House Appropriations Committee hearing on the DepEd's proposed budget, Secretary Briones presented that out of the proposed 551.7 billion peso budget, 1.27 billion pesos will be allocated for the hiring of additional teachers. The proposed budget also includes the hiring of 5,000 non-teaching personnel with a budget allocation of 1.28 billion pesos, the construction of new school buildings, and rehabilitation of thousands of classrooms, the procurement of computers, textbooks, and other learning materials, and the electrification of schools in rural areas. But ACT Teachers Party List Representative Franz Castro questioned the medical assistance fund for the teachers. DepEd explained the Department of Budget and Management have removed it from the proposed budget since it was already listed under the government's Universal Healthcare Program.
Magkaiba po ito Special law po ito ng teachers, yung Magna Carta for Public School Teachers, yung 4670, as against doon sa nagko-contribute din kasi ang mga government employees katulad ng teachers para doon.
Joanna, UNTV News and Rescue, House of Representatives.
A lawmaker wants a probe into the rice importation in the country. This as local rice farmers are being affected economically by the rice tariffication law. Nel Maribuhok reports why.
A group of farmers expressed their sentiments in a Senate hearing today on the effects of the rice tariffication law on their sector. They say with the large supply of imported rice in the country, the price of local palay is affected, leading to their economic loss.
Magkano po na binaba? Siguro 2 pesos, 4 pesos. O where is the price 7 pesos drop? Paano yung palay? Ang palay, bumagsak ang palay din. Mas malaki ang bagsak po ng palay.
The Agriculture Department answers small farmers can avail of loan from them.
Maaaring konti po pero makakatulong po na 1.5 billion na immediately pinamahagi po natin bilang pautang.
Senator Cynthia Villar, the chairperson of the Senate Committee on Agriculture and Food, wants to monitor the distribution of the Rice Competitiveness Enhancement Fund or RCEF.
Yung implementation ng RCEF, tututukan ko po yan. In fact, I want it computerized para nalalaman natin kung ano yung mga bayan na sinasabi nilang binibigyan.
Senator Francis Pangilinan calls for a probe into those who take advantage of the rice importation.
We asked the Philippine Competition Commission to investigate the existing rice importers if they are taking advantage of their collective dominance. Dahil lang nakikita nga natin, bumaba ang presyo ng bigas pero maliit lang.
Under the rice tariffication law, 10 billion pesos has been allocated for the RCEF, but Senator Pangilinan suggests there must be another 10 billion pesos to be distributed directly to local rice farmers. Nel Maribuhok, UNTV News and Rescue, Senate of the Philippines.
2 barangay halls seated on separate sidewalks in Caloocan City are no longer there. Meanwhile, the Quezon City residents are given 7 days to remove road obstructions in their areas. Why? Vincent Arboleda reports.
With less than a month before the deadline of the DILG's 60-day clearing operations comes, the MMDA and local governments intensify their efforts to clear public roads of obstructions. In Caloocan City, 2 barangay halls were dismantled today. But the Caloocan LGU is challenged, what with the informal settlers that occupy public spaces.
Matatagal ng informal settlers, yung 1992, below, they are protected by law. So, kumuha pa kami ng opinion at exemption sa DILG.
Meanwhile, the Quezon City government has given notice of violations to some residents and establishments with properties not covered by their land titles.
Kung gusto nilang umayos, kailangan makikooperate lahat. Hindi lang pwedeng gobyerno lagi ang gagawa ng hakbang.
The MMDA continue to monitor local governments in Metro Manila down to the barangay level if they are doing measures to clear public roads.
So walang politika rito. Kung sino man yung tamaang kapitan o kagawad, sorry na lang sila. Kailangan gawin nila yung trabaho nila.
Vincent Arboleda, UNTV News and Rescue, Caloocan City.
The Department of the Interior and local government is content with the response of local government units in Metro Manila on their call to clear public roads of obstructions. Some LGUs are even proud to say they're done with their task 25 days before the deadline. Ray Pelayo details why.
The cities of Marikina, Pasay, Navotas, Malabon, Valenzuela, and San Juan, and the municipality of Pateros already have 100% compliance with the DILG's clearing operations order. Interior Secretary Eduardo Año says the primary and secondary roads, including sidewalks in these areas, are completely cleared. Quezon City, however, is working hard to comply due to the large scale of its jurisdiction. The clearing operations are now at 43.3% nationwide, according to data from the DILG. Regions with top compliance are Cagayan Valley, Central Luzon, Central Visayas, Calabar Zone, and Western Visayas.
Kasi dito, mami-measure natin kung ano yung effort na ginawa ng local government units. Kung nakita natin na talagang wala man lang itong attempt at hindi man lang pumasa ng nung 50%. Abay, dapat talagang parusahan natin ito.
The DILG also supports the enactment of the no parking, no car policy. Secretary Anyo also encourages LGUs to pass ordinances to provide space for vendors to prevent them from going back to selling in public places. Ray Pelayo, UNTV, News and Rescue, Quezon City.
Some 10,000 motorists will benefit from the opening of the Laguna segment of the Cavite-Laguna Expressway or CALEX in October. Niña Armilio tells us why.
Travel time going to Cavite and Laguna will be cut through CALEX. This according to Department of Public Works and Highway Secretary Mark Villar. 10 kilometers of the road will be open to motorists from Amplasan exit in Binyan, Laguna to the city of Santa Rosa next month. The 2-hour trip from the South Luzon Expressway or SLEX to the Manila-Cavite Expressway or Cavitex will be only 45 minutes.
So, yung mga pupuntang Laguna, yung mga pupunta sa Tagaytay, pwede na nilang gamitin to, mas mabilis. So ito po, ang length nito ay 10 kilometers.
Motorists will be charged 4 pesos per kilometer. The DPWH says the Expressway project aims to provide faster, safer, more comfortable and reliable route between Bacoor and Cavite areas and the Laguna and SLEX areas. The 4-lane, 44.63-kilometer closed system tolled Expressway project is expected to be completed in October 2020. Niña Armilio, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
The Philippine athletes to represent the country in the 2019 SEA Games take advantage of the new sports facilities. Leslie Udem will tell us why.
Philippine athletes got to experience the modern sports facilities in Clark City, Capas, Tarlac in preparation for the 2019 Southeast Asian or SEA Games.
Well, the facilities that we have now certainly will greatly help our athletes because our athletes are now housed in that in the tenements over there, and they will have advantage of being very much at home with the facilities.
The pre-qualifying competitions for the swimming and athletics competitions were earlier held here.
This is really part of what we call the weekly relays. Okay, it is a program that we've had for the last 30 years. And this is part of the tryouts for the national team. And this is going to be one of the last tryouts because we have to submit the entries by September 30.
The winners will become part of the Philippine national team for the SEA Games that will be held on November 30 until December 11, 2019. The Aquatic Center has a 10-lane competition pool, an 8-lane training pool, and a 5-meter deep diving pool. It can seat 2,000 spectators. Meanwhile, the final leg of the 2019 Philippine Athletics Track and Field competitions was held at the 20,000-seat stadium last Sunday. Philippine athletes are content with the world-class facilities.
Kasi nakakapag-compete din ako ng world, so hindi nakakaya, talagang may dating. Kasi hindi natin tayo nabihan kahit paano nagkaroon tayo ng isang world-class national stadium dito sa Pilipinas. Ang ganda talaga.
Sobrang ganda po, tapos napaka-standard niya po, tapos first time ko po makagamit ng gantong facilities po.
Without question, comparing it to everything else in the Philippines, ito yung best facility.
Malaking bagay ito, ma'am, para naman yung mga potential pa nating mga kabataan ay magtuloy-tuloy pa rin sa mga sa paglalaro. Tapos maranasan nila na magkaroon ng ganito. Pagdating nila sa ibang bansa, hindi na sila maninibago, meron na tayo.
Leslie Widem, UNTV News and Rescue, Capas, Tarlac.
And to complete the most significant news for this day, Y News continues. Here are the top stories. The Philippine National Police Anti-Kidnapping Group, or PNP-AKG, say Chinese kidnappers have been hiring former cops and soldiers as their henchmen. April Senadoza explains why.
The PNP-AKG says the former military and police personnel hired by the Chinese kidnappers came from high ranks. That's why they know better guides or goons. for their illegal activities.
Na itong mga Chinese ay bawal silang magkaroon o magdala ng baril dito sa ating lugar. Prohibited po sila para makakuha. At yun siguro, ang isa kaya sila nag-i-import ng ganyan ay yung alam nila yung pasikot-sikot kung saan yung pinakamatagong hideout o yung saan yung tinatakbuhan ng mga sasakyan. Kaya siguro nag-hire na sila ng ganito.
According to Lieutenant Colonel Sereno, PNP AKG operatives undergo marksmanship training to strengthen their capacity in anti-kidnapping operations. He said the PNP AKG's job is critical because the lives of the victims are always at stake.
Dahil nakikidil tayo sa mga kidnappers, ito yung mga talagang kaya nila rin pumatay at para may pakatuparan nila yung gusto nilang hangarin na maghasik rin ng pangamba sa mga tao.
April Ceredoza, UNTV News and Rescue, Camp Crame.
Tropical storm Liwayway continues to intensify as it moves northward over the Philippine Sea east of Batanes. As of 5 p.m., Liwayway was last seen at 225 kilometers east of Basco, Batanes, packing maximum sustained winds of 110 kilometers per hour and gusts of up to 135 kph. It is moving north at 15 kph. Tropical cyclone wind signal number 1 is still hoisted over Batanes. Liwayway is forecast to exit the Philippine Area of Responsibility or PAR as a typhoon between tomorrow late evening and Thursday morning. Tomorrow and on Thursday afternoon, the trough of Liwayway and the southwest monsoon will bring light to moderate with intermittent heavy rains over Batanes and Babuyan Islands. Residents of the aforementioned areas, especially those living in areas identified to be highly or very highly susceptible to floods and rain-induced landslides, are advised to take precautionary measures. In the world's northernmost town with a population of just over 2,000 people, climate change is visibly threatening homes and wildlife. It is also dubbed as the fastest warming place on the planet. Mirasol Albogadil explains why.
Icebergs float like doomed islands as a small boat makes its way through a fjord filled with the slush of a melting glacier. Occasionally, the bottom of one of the icebergs is dissolved by warming waters, leaving it top-heavy and plunging into a somersault, one of the last playful acts before its eventual death. For the Wallenberg Glacier above the fjord, calving is a natural process, shearing off chunks from the main ice shelf into the water. But it is now happening at an increasing rate because of the rising temperatures in ocean waters.
We are losing the Svalbard we know. We are losing the Arctic as we know it because of climate change. This is a forewarning of all the hardship and problems that will spread around the planet.
Since 1970, average annual temperatures have risen by 4 degrees Celsius in Svalbard, with winter temperatures rising more than 7 degrees, according to a report released by the Norwegian Center for Climate Services in February. The Climate in Svalbard 2100 report also warns that the annual mean air temperature in Svalbard is projected to increase by 7 to 10 degrees Celsius by the end of this century. That is not good news for Svalbard's main town, Longyearbyen. Houses in the valley are built on small wooden stilts instead of deep foundations and are no match for the softening of the ground, which can lead to collapses, landslides, and avalanche due to thawing permafrost. The specter of climate change looms large over Odon Saltes dog farm, the Norwegian-owned Svalbard Husky, with his wife Mia. During the summer, with no snow on the ground, the dogs pull sleds along the bumpy gravel road on wheels, rattling past the few cars on the island. But Salte worries that as temperatures rise, climate change could lead to the extinction of all life on Earth. As someone who likes kissing and dancing with his dogs, he has 110 of them. He is most concerned about the non-humans on the planet.
If climate change is the
the end of any animal species who hasn't contributed anything towards the speeding up of this process. That's why I'm reacting.
Salte compares climate change to a car crash that we can't help staring at, feeling lucky that we are not the victim.
On the highway, when people slow down to look at a car crash, the whole climate change is kind of like that, because everyone's slowing down to kind of look at the accident, but not realizing that we are actually the car crash.
Mirasol Abogadil, UNTV, News and Rescue.
And for the news abroad, here's Kath Dumaraos reporting live from Bangkok, Thailand. Kath, good evening.
Good evening, William. Hurricane Durian pounded the Bahamas on Monday, killing at least 5 people and inundating homes with floodwater ahead of its expected advance on the U.S. coast, where more than 1 million people were ordered evacuated. Judith Añofuente has the story.
Hurricane Durian, one of the most powerful storms ever to hit the Atlantic, continued to pummel the Bahamas overnight, leaving a deadly path of destruction despite weakening slightly. Durian was downgraded to Category 4 hurricane late on Monday, but remains life-threatening, bringing winds of up to 230 kilometers an hour. Bahamas Prime Minister Hubert Minnis said at least 5 people had died as a result of the storm, but officials said the death toll could go up.
We are in the midst of a historic tragedy in parts of northern Bahamas. Our mission and focus now is search, rescue, and recovery. I ask for your prayers for those in affected areas and for our first responders.
As many as 13,000 homes in the Bahamas may have been destroyed or severely damaged, the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies said. 9 counties in Florida have issued mandatory evacuations. These included for parts of Duval County, home to Jacksonville, one of Florida's 2 biggest cities, and some areas in Palm Beach County, home to Trump's Mar-a-Lago resort. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis urged coastal residents to heed evacuation orders. Among those being evacuated was Sue Watson, a 93-year-old resident of a retirement community in Kissimmee in Central Florida.
Well, I was all set to stay home until they had to turn the water off.
The UN General Assembly said that they stand in solidarity with all those affected by the destruction and the devastation of Hurricane Durian, that they are monitoring the situation closely and urge the international community to stand ready to help. Scientists have warned that climate change is making hurricanes more intense. As global warming raises the ocean surface temperature, storms gather more energy, which can lead to greater rainfall and stronger winds as they make landfall. Judith Añofuente, UNTV News and Rescue, USA.
Hong Kong leader Carrie Lam said on Tuesday she has never asked the Chinese government to let her resign to end the city's political crisis, responding to a report about a voice recording of her saying she would step down if she could. Freddie Petalio tells us why.
Embattled Hong Kong leader Carrie Lam said she has caused unforgivable havoc by igniting the political crisis engulfing the city and would quit if she had a choice, according to an audio published by news agency Reuters yesterday.
If I have a choice, the first thing is to quit. Having made a deep apology is to step down.
At a closed-door meeting made last week to a group of business people, Lam said that she now has very limited room to resolve the crisis because the unrest has become a national security and sovereignty issue for China amid rising tensions with the United States.
The political room for the chief executive, who unfortunately has to serve 2 masters by constitution, that is the Central People's Government and the people of Hong Kong. That political room for maneuvering is very, very, very limited.
At a press conference today, the Hong Kong leader cleared she has never asked the Chinese government to let her resign to end the city's political crisis.
I have never tendered a resignation to the Central People's Government. I have not even contemplated to discuss a resignation with the Central People's Government. The choice of not resigning is my own choice.
On the meeting, Lam also suggested that Beijing had not yet reached a turning point. She also said Beijing had absolutely no plan to deploy People's Liberation Army troops on Hong Kong streets.
I can assure you that Beijing does not have a deadline. They know will prolong.
The chief executive did not dispute the authenticity of the audio. Lam said that Beijing believed her government could solve the 3-month-long crisis without mainland China's intervention.
I know it is not going to be an easy path. And that's why I said that I have not given myself the choice to take an easier path, and that is to leave. I'd rather stay on and walk this path together with my team and with the people of Hong Kong.
Hundreds of thousands of people have taken to the streets since mid-June in protest at a now suspended extradition bill, which would see people sent to mainland China for trial in Communist Party-controlled courts. The unrest has morphed into a broader call for Chinese-ruled Hong Kong to be granted greater autonomy by Beijing, which has accused foreign powers, particularly the United States and Britain, for fomenting the unrest. Ferdy Petalio, UNTV News and Rescue, Hong Kong.
And those are the news from the other parts of the globe. Back to you, William.
Thank you very much. Kath Dumaraos reporting live from Bangkok, Thailand. Portuguese pro footballer Cristiano Ronaldo and top players, coaches, teams are honored at the Kinas on Monday. Justin Masakayan has the details.
Cristiano Ronaldo was named Men's Football Player of the Year at Portugal's 2019 Quinas de Ouro Awards at Carlos Lopes Hall in Lisbon on Monday. Jessica Silva, who plays for Levante Union Deportiva in Spain's Primera Division of women's soccer, was named Women's Player of the Year. Portugal team coach Fernando Santos was given the Platinum Award for his work in leading Portugal's men's squad. The 2019 Gold Quinas celebrate and reward the best Portuguese soccer, futsal, and beach soccer players, team, and coaches. The choice of nominees was made by the Council of the Golden Mines, while the election of the winners results from voting by coaches, players, and supporters. Justin Masakayan, UNTV News and Rescue.
A Spanish company is offering tourists an expedition to experience life on Mars without leaving Earth's atmosphere. Nina Armilio has this story.
Tourists can now experience what a trip to the Red Planet would be like, thanks to Astrolander's Ara station, which replicates a hostile Martian environment in a cave in northern Spain. Scientists, architects, and developers work to convert the 1.5-kilometer, 60-meter high cave near Arredondo in Cantabria into a human colony similar to those that would be necessary for life on Mars. Organizers say the lack of atmosphere, extreme low temperatures, and presence of cosmic rays on Mars would mean new societies would likely be forged below ground. Participants undergo 26 days of online courses and 3 days of intensive training in Santander before entering the cave for 4 days and 3 nights. Over the course of their stay, so-called Astrolanders carry out spacewalks, simulate the feeling of weightlessness, and learn how to grow food in specialized laboratories.
It was fantastic, experiencing 3 days on Mars and now landing back safely alive on planet Earth.
An adventure, honestly. Something totally different from what you find outside in your day-to-day. An experience that totally takes you out of your comfort zone. It is another world. You have to adapt, change your mindset. In everything that is ordinary, you have to learn how to do it differently from what you used to do on Earth. It really is another world.
A maximum of 10 people can take part in each mission, but the price for many may seem astronomical at just over €6,000 or $6.60 per person. Astroland said that Ara Station has seen one successful mission already and is now open to explorers wanting to get a taste of Martian life. Nina Armilio, UNTV News and Rescue.
And those are the reasons behind the news this September 3rd, 2019. On behalf of Alex Baltazar and Angelo Castro III, I am William Theo, and before we close, we will recap with today's significant soundbites. Because we need to know, we will always ask why. Good evening.
I stand by my statement that I have nothing to do, no intervention, nothing whatsoever. It was a referral letter.
Lagi po namin sinasabi, laging paulit-ulit po namin sinasabi, bakit po kami magbabayad? Wala naman pong kasalanan ng aking asawa.
Pwede mo ba silang hulihin o hindi? Kasi whatever is unfavorable to the accused cannot be applied to the accused.
We will continue the surveillance. We will continue the monitoring of these contacts, no, the immediate contacts, the classmates na nandoon sa kanya, no. So, and also advise them that if they have symptoms like nag-fever sila, then they have to consult also.
Kasi nakakapag-compete din ako ng gold, so hindi nakakaya, talagang may dating. Kasi hindi natin tayo nabihan, kahit pa paano nagkaroon tayo ng isang world-class national stadium dito sa Pilipinas.
Without question, comparing it to everything else in the Philippines, ito yung best facility.